Okay, so I'm going to show you how to sew on a new nose for your Alpacasso, just like the one that you've seen here, one of the hand-stitched noses, which are usually found on the smaller series and the older ones. But I've used a sock, as you can see here, because none of mine actually need any surgery. So you'll need some black embroidery thread and a long doll needle. This one's about 3 inches long, but you can get them longer. Nice long piece of thread. And then you need to tie the thread in somewhere at the edge of the muzzle. Now this will be hidden by the fur later on, so it doesn't really matter how small or how neat the knot is in any great detail, but I usually make mine as small as possible by putting the thread back through the point where I did the original stitch, so you can see me doing this here. Now the first place I'm going to pull the needle out is for making the top of the nose, so I'm just going to kind of sketch a nose on now in pencil because I couldn't find my fabric pen. Obviously I would take a lot more care over this if I was doing it for real, especially the bottom bit, I was lazy. So bring the needle out on one side, and we're basically making the U shape of the nose here, or the V shape. So bring it in back where you want the nose to end, and then pull it out in the centre, right at the bottom of the nose, just there. Don't stab yourself with the needle like I just did there. Okay, so now we have our nose and the bit of thread that's going to become the septum. So work out where you want that to end, and then poke the needle back through at that point. So we now make the bottom end of the V of the mouth, the upside down V, stab myself again. And we basically use that loop of thread that becomes the septum, loosen it back up and put the needle through it, because that loop will hold the thread in position. It means we have to do less stitching, which is always good. So pull it back through, use that septum to hold it in place. There we are. And then make the other half of the pattern. I'm slightly off here, I can see this now. So pull it back out on the other side, the up end of the mouth, and these are just normal stitches, so back to the corner of the mouth that we've already made, bring it out on the opposite side. This one's a little short, so I accidentally bring this out in the wrong place, but that's okay, it's easy to correct. Either just pull it back through on the other side, or if you're lazy like me, make a little stitch back through the same hole, which should sink the thread, and then stitch straight over it and you won't be able to tell. So pull the thread back through on the other side of the mouth, and then up to the muzzle again, somewhere in the fur line, so you'll not be able to see it later. And then all we need to do is lock the thread off using the same kind of stitch that we started with, putting the needle back through the middle of the thread, which makes it less likely to come out. Put it through the head somewhere, pull it tight so there's no thread hanging loose on the inside, and then push down a little bit with the scissor blades as you cut, and that should mean that the thread sinks back into the mouth, like you can see there. And so you should now have, if you've been a bit more careful than I have, a perfectly formed Alpacasso mouth, just like your original guys. Hope that helps.